Animal Crossing New Horizons has become one of my all-time favorite video games. As an adult, the sheer volume of games that I want to play often limits my desire to invest hundreds of hours replaying the same game like I did as a kid. I remember when I was in high school, and even before that, I would play Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VII, and Morrowind non-stop because I just didn't have that many games to play. Probably a lot of you can relate to this. The simple gameplay loop of Animal Crossing is probably familiar to a lot of people at this point. On paper, the game doesn't really make sense in a lot of ways, yet it has been immensely popular. And I want to talk about today a few reasons why I think that is. Now, before we get started, I think it's important to acknowledge, with Animal Crossing in particular, one of the things that led to its success is the coincidental timing of its release. For many people, it came out just as the COVID-19 pandemic was starting to really affect our daily lives. For me, I actually wasn't even planning on picking up the game. I didn't really think it was going to be something that I would enjoy a lot. And so I was going to hold off. But the week before the game came out, my school where I worked announced that we would be going to a remote education for the foreseeable future. Things were beginning to close and lock down. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to participate in life quite the same way as I used to. And so about a week before the game came out, I actually pre-ordered it. And I'm really glad that I did. Now, this is not something that any game developer or any game studio is going to be able to predict or recreate. And so this is an unusual reality that Animal Crossing New Horizons dealt with, but it is undeniable that the pandemic led in part to New Horizons' success and popularity. But I still think at its core, there are a few big reasons why this gameplay appealed to so many people at the particular moment that it did. In particular, I want to talk about two key areas where Animal Crossing New Horizons attached itself and appealed to two basic aspects of our identity as humans. Those are our need for community and our desire to pursue and create beauty. So we're going to talk about each of these things. First, Animal Crossing appeals to our need for community. Now, again, this is something in particular that was affected by the pandemic and allowed the game to really appeal to us in a way when we were isolated in a way we haven't really been before. Your first few minutes on an average day will likely look like this. Listen to Isabel's morning announcements, see if anything special is happening that day, check your mail, water your flowers, chop some wood, dig up some fossils, go get those identified at the museum, see if the shops are selling anything cool, maybe catch a few fish, change your outfit, catch some bugs, hit some rocks, talk to your villagers. And because the game is tied to the real world clock, you are limited in what you can do. Now, that's of course unless you time travel by changing the system clock on your Switch. These day-to-day activities don't make sense on their own. There is nothing that sounds appealing to picking up weeds, watering flowers, and catching bugs. Yet, within just a couple of months of release, New Horizons far exceeded the expectations for lifetime sales of the game. Part of that is the amount of community that this game built up. Now, there are some very basic ways that we needed community in the game at the very first stages. If you want to collect all the flowers and all the fruits, you need friends. If you want to collect different color variations of items, you need friends, because early on in the game, at least before the 2.0 update, your island was restricted to a single color of a street lamp or a dresser. You would need someone else whose shop or Nook Miles terminal sold a different color variation so that you could get them all. In addition to those basic things, which frankly most people were able to take care of within the first few days of the game, people came up with some insane ways to foster community within Animal Crossing. People hosted island giveaways where they were inviting random people to their islands to give away or exchange items. There were item swaps so that people could fill their catalog with new items and that they could then buy on their own. People were turning islands into mazes or game islands and then inviting people to come and visit to see what they had created and to experience that. The turnip market was insane at the very beginning of the game. People would post all over the internet, on Twitter or elsewhere, sharing their turnip buy prices, their turnip sell prices. We would travel to one another's islands so that we could become billionaires. And all of that was really, really exciting. Animal Crossing provided a sense of normalcy and human interaction that we basically long for, just as a natural human need and instinct. There's something here that is deeply embedded within what it means to be human. We are made to help one another. We're made to share with one another. And Animal Crossing provided a unique avenue to do that. I needed peaches. My friend needed apples. So we gladly exchanged. I would go to his island and sell my apples. He would come to my island and sell his peaches. There was no profiteering. There was no taking advantage of one another. People were just being very goodwill toward one another, and we were gladly helping one another. There was something super simple and beautiful about this game in which you determine exactly what's going on your island, and you are helping one another accomplish that task. It's a really unique experience. The appeal of this game is really simple, but as I've said, a brief description of it likely sounds super boring. In fact, I had a friend who would occasionally see me playing the game or ask what I was doing, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's that fishing game," because I was usually fishing when he saw me playing. Yet this game captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of people. The internet raved when celebrities like Elijah Wood, known for playing Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, visited someone's island so that he could sell turnips for a good price. Brie Larson, Chrissy Teigen have tweeted about the game multiple times. New Horizons' predecessor, New Leaf, made big time news a couple years ago when an 87-year-old grandma was making the news for playing the game for well over 3,000 hours over several years. Everything about this game was lighthearted and whimsical. There wasn't any way to lose when you were playing Animal Crossing. There's no real way to die. Even if you get stung by bees or you get attacked by a scorpion or tarantula, you just pass out and return home. It's a pretty low stakes game. You don't have a gun. There's no violence. You can't kill anything. At least not really. There's not even really an end to the game. It's a simple game where you delight in simple things. You're free to explore your own imagination and your creativity, and you're able to share that with others. It's a game where you can delight in seeing what your friends have come up with, and you can collaborate with one another to reach new heights, whether that's sharing ideas or sharing items so that you can decorate with exactly the item and the exact color that you need. When New Horizons first came out in March of 2020, we needed community. We needed relationships with other people, and Animal Crossing provided that. We needed other players to share fruit, to buy or sell turnips, to get all the different kinds of flowers, to get missing art pieces, and so much more. I even remember pretty early on in the game, maybe 3 or 4 days after its release, one of my friends had it raining on his island and he caught a coelacanth. And so he invited several of us over, and we all stayed on that island for a couple of hours trying to all catch a coelacanth because none of us had seen rain yet. We would go over to one another's islands if a villager was crafting a pretty cool recipe in their homes. We could collect that. We would text each other if Celeste was present on an island so we could get that recipe. Before Reese and Cyrus set up shop on Harv's Island, we needed to get those other color variations. Playing with one another was an essential element to really exploring all that the game had to offer. Even the villagers on your own island provide a sense of community. The daily interactions with your villagers can create a kind of attachment. Early on, my starting villagers were Flip and Muffy. And I've got to be honest, I did not like Flip or Muffy. But after a few months of having them on my island, I really had a hard time saying goodbye to both of them. I grew to be attached to them. They were my two starting villagers. But eventually I did let them move on. Celebrating your villagers' birthdays, and when they even celebrate your birthday with you, these are pretty magical moments, even if they are very simple, but they create a sense of community on your island. And for a lot of people in 2020, as sad as it may be, the birthday celebration with their villagers might have been the closest thing to a birthday party a lot of people had. Getting recipes from your villagers, getting gifts from your villagers, this makes them an integral part of the community, and it causes us to realize we need each other to become better. Even the visiting NPCs like Kix and Red show us that we need others, and we can't do it all on our own all the time. Part of that community is many people even have a favorite villager or several villagers that they want to have on their island, or they refuse to allow leave once they're there. Many players call these villagers their dreamies. There's even an online market for buying or selling or trading your dreamies. Some players will spend hundreds of Nook Miles tickets to find their dreamies to develop the island community that they want. The Series 5 amiibo cards and the Sanrio amiibo card packs led to a craze for people trying to get these to find those new villagers being added to the game. Pretty quickly, the Series 5 villagers became some of the most desirable villagers. Sasha, Raymond, Shino, Audie, some of them that were out since the release of the game, but others that were brand new with the cards. But everyone has their favorite villager, and that creates a unique and special community because every island is filled with different villagers. Even if there are a few that are the most common or the most popular, every island will be a little bit different. There's even someone out there who loves Beryl and Harry. Even though it is silly, there has been something encouraging about this shared experience while we face the pandemic together. In every facet of the game, New Horizons pushes toward the reality the world can be better in some way, and the way to achieve that is to help one another. It reminds us that this world, the real world, the one with pandemics, is a tough place sometimes, and we need one another. New Horizons provides a unique escape where we can find a sense of community, and that brings us a little glimmer of hope in the midst of difficulty. Even though a lot of people may not recognize it, the popularity of this game is in part due to how it aligns with this aspect of what it means to be human. It fulfills in us a need, a desire that we all have. But in addition to providing this sense of community, in the midst of a pandemic where things were very tough for a lot of people, we were surrounded by loss of life, by chaos and unpredictability. We were even surrounded often by isolation. We were just engulfed in it. New Horizons gave us an opportunity to witness beauty and to reflect on what beauty is and what can be possible. And millions of players found a bond and encouragement through this game over the last couple of years. We've celebrated different things, highs and lows in the game. And, you know, I recognize in some ways these are minor things. This is a video game. But a lot of people enjoyed things like celebrating the new year by watching fireworks in the game. And while we could mock this and the isolation that some people face, in this season, this was among the closest thing to community we could find. And there was something beautiful in that. But in addition to the community, the level of customization and creativity available to players in the game really allowed something special to happen in the game. New Horizons offers a level of freedom that very few games are able to recreate. And you can share that with other players. Whatever you create on your island, you can invite other friends to come and see it. Or you can share your dream address and just random strangers can happen upon it. Some players have built themed islands. Sometimes these are referred to as kind of core island, like a jungle core, being filled with jungle-based items and villagers. But in a weird way, Animal Crossing has become an artistic expression in which the players enjoy the slow, methodical creations of others. Creating a really impressive and beautiful island takes hundreds or even thousands of hours. There's a sense of respect that we can give to one another based on the beauty of that creation. This enjoyment comes by simply taking it in, seeing another player who had all the same tools at their disposal that you had, but came up with something completely different. There's no clear reward to building an especially beautiful island. The game doesn't really offer any acknowledgement or reward for continually revising and improving your island once you've achieved that 5-star rating. And honestly, getting that 5-star rating occurs pretty easily enough by getting enough furniture, fencing, and flowers around your island. Yet players continue, even to this day, to create new islands, new themes, well beyond achieving that 5-star island. The beauty itself is its own reward. And Animal Crossing provides a tremendous outlet for creativity. I've seen islands designed like metropolitan cities, magical forests, and all kinds of things in between. A player who visits 3 Friends Islands will encounter 3 totally different kinds of islands. Some of the elements might be the same. They'll have the same shops, the same kinds of fruit will be available, the same kinds of flowers will be available. However, the arrangement and combination of these environments and these items allow unlimited creative expression. Once I visited an island that had been completely reformed to be covered completely in sand, and it had an Egyptian and desert theme. There was one tiny oasis in the midst of the desert with a pond, a few flowers, and some coconut trees. There was virtually no grass and no water anywhere, with a few exceptions to a few spots that had grass or a couple small ponds. I visited another island that looked like a New England beach town filled with boats and all kinds of impressive tiny islands and things. Most of the island was covered by water, with small islands connected by bridges. This was even before boats were actually added as an item, and they had made imitation boats through the creative use of couches and utility poles. Some islands have recreated cities and been completely paved with not a single patch of grass, but maybe only a few flowers that look very intentionally planted. Others have a very natural feel with cottages and carefully placed and intentionally overgrown looking landscape. Early on in the game, you have a limited number of items and a limited number of recipes and items you can craft. The game forces you to come up with creative ways to blend these items together into interesting environments to beautify your island. Each player will unlock recipes and items at random and different times. So this means every island is going to be different, and players took pride in the unique design of their islands, and they were eager to share those creations with their friends. Many players spend hours and hours and hours visiting other islands simply to witness the creative expression of another player. But there's nothing really to be gained by doing so. There's no real advantage to visiting a dream address. Players who visit an island in a dream can't make any changes to the island, and they're otherwise limited in their abilities to interact with that island. Yet, it's commonly done. There are even many YouTube channels and videos that have hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of views based on going on tours of impressively beautiful islands. Happy Home Paradise added on to this by giving players an opportunity to design a near infinite number of homes and exteriors separate from your own island. You could do this following the themes suggested in the game, or you could design completely independently. You had the opportunity to share those designs with other players, once again allowing you to participate in a creative community in a unique way. It also added thousands of new items and opportunities to change things on your own main island. Another aspect of the creative expression in this game, and one of the most astounding expressions of creativity in this game or any game I have ever seen, is the unique player created designs. Players have created these impressive patterns to place on the ground of your island to create unique pathways or themes. They've also used this in-game tool to create impressive clothing that can be used. Even within the first few weeks of the game, I was able to get a piece of clothing from the custom designs that looked like a Jedi robe. Players can upload their designs so that others can take advantage of their creativity and their skill, and they can apply that creativity to their own island in a unique way. Animal Crossing offers simplicity, beauty, and a little bit of hope to anyone who plays it. It has been, for me, one of my personal bright spots during the midst of the pandemic. It's been so much fun for me to share items with my friends so that they can create their perfect vision for their own island. It's been very rewarding when another player visits my own island for a trade and they compliment it or ask me a question about it. I've even had players I was trading with on Nookazon ask me to give them a full tour of my island. Again, there was no inherent value in doing this. They just got to see something that I had created. And it was personally rewarding to me to have someone acknowledge that the work I had invested was impressive in some way. The opportunity for creative expression in Animal Crossing New Horizons is virtually unlimited. With the ability to transform the interior of your own home and to transform the exterior of your island, there are endless options. In a way, this game reminds me that being creative is also at the heart of what it means to be human. In a period where our ability to interact with others or to express ourselves creatively may be limited, New Horizons has given millions of players an opportunity to experience community and beauty in a unique and powerful way. By loving our community and expressing our creativity on our virtual island homes, maybe we can learn a little bit more about experiencing community and embracing creativity a little bit more in our own world. Thank you guys for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoy or look forward to a thoughtful analysis of different video games, along with hearing reviews of new games and getting tips on some of the more popular games as they come out, hit that subscribe button so you can catch what we have for you in the future. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have fun out there.